once you figure out who you are and what resonates with you, it becomes so much easier. You get so much clarity on who you resonate with. For example, I love the intellectual, philosophical and spiritual takes on life. I also like the very clear-cut and logical, directive, informative content. So people such as Dan Coe, resonate with me. There's another guy I watch on YouTube. His name is Thompson Ngo or Thompson Go, Vietnamese dude. He just started his YouTube channel. I love the stuff he's talking about because he's been through the ringer. I love seeing that authentic piece come through. I actually found that I'm very put off now by scripted content, just because I've never been the type of person who could literally just read off a script. I've always been the type of person who flows in that moment. And so by knowing that, I know that's just one segment of who I am, but just by simply knowing that, I'm able to figure out the type of creators and the type of content online that I can engage with. So there's that. How can men benefit from an experimental attitude to self-improvement? So yeah, kind of overlapping on what I said. I genuinely believe that by doing lots of different things, you understand more and more of who you are as a person, right? And look, by society's standards, whatever the fuck that means, I failed loads, I think men can benefit massively from experimenting on self-improvement. I myself have never kind of gone to the realms of trying psychedelics or anything like that. But, I've tried things like NoFap, journaling every day, cold plunges, 5 a.m. club. I've done 75 hard twice. I have done a little bit of looks maxing stuff and really found that there's elements of each of those pieces that build the fragments of my persona, if that makes sense. They build together to create this shard, right? They're fragments of a shard that clicks in with who I am as an individual. And I genuinely feel that the more you experiment, provided that it's not at your own detriment. Don't experiment to the point where your health takes a knock. I mean, in some cases, people do need that shock to then come up, right? And I'm not advocating for going and doing hard drugs or anything like that. By all means, do it at your own peril, or just make informed choices. That's what I'm trying to say. Make informed choices. Experiment with doing lots of different things. And on that pathway, you will find your alignment, right? Because for myself, I did this whole array of things. And I realized what I've done is I've built a skill stack, which is going to help me with the business that I am now pushing forward with, which ultimately brought me back to my well-being roots, right? Because now I'm helping people use the power of their breath and mindfulness and being able to understand and harness their internal energy to break down stress and anxiety, as well as boost their productivity and learn about what the conscious integrated awareness is, right? And there'll be more content on that. Okay, so I only realized that after I finished shooting last night, that the camera cuts off after 29 minutes of recording. So I had to dial it back and just gonna continue from where I last left off. So we were on Dan's questions. And the next question he asks is, how can men align with their deeper wisdom to guide their self-improvement efforts? This is a very good question. They're all really good questions. I think men need to actually listen to that voice inside them and really understand who they are. Identify, what kind of person they want to become. Because there's a lot of wisdom that you'll find in that. Right, I'm a firm believer that human beings were very intuitive. We're very intuitive beings, right? We know what we want in life. We know what direction we want to go in, And it's only by listening to that inner voice that we'll be able to identify what we really resonate with. And once you've got that under wraps, once you've understood what kind of individual you want to become, what kind of mark you want to leave on the world, you can then align yourself with the different efforts that you take to improve, right? The different things that help us as the vehicles to carry us along the pathway to becoming a better man, right? In my instance, in my case, I always felt like I was put on this earth to help people, right? And it sounds a little bit vague, but then this is where the experimentation phase comes from in the previous question. I knew that I wanted to go into the medical field because that was the sort of like my sort of entrance into being in an environment where I could help others, right? I always wanted to be a soldier, so I married the two together, became a medic in the military. After that whole phase, the goal didn't change. The goal never shifted, it never changed, because I was always trying to offer and deliver value, even in the form of like low quality vlogs, because I was still trying to refine and build that skill. So I think when you know where you want to go in life, it becomes easier to align with that pathway. It becomes easier to look at a niche picture, and all your efforts will start to align with that, right? You'll start to naturally gravitate towards certain content creators. You'll pick up books that align with those goals. You will start to think more and more like the individual once you've identified that is the path that you want to go down. Okay, so those are Dan's questions. There's one from a lady within Cortex. Her name is Lynn. She asks, what mental health struggles do men have that most women don't know about? Oh boy, so many. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of a way that I can phrase this better without YouTube having an issue with it. Men think about self-deletion a lot more than you think. Men think about taking their own lives, and a lot of them often go through with it based off of the societal pressures that are put on them for being men, alongside the resistance that masculinity is met with in today's day and age, coupled with the internal struggles of being a man in general, because he wants to become a provider. He wants to be a provider. He wants to attract a partner that he can have a fulfilling life with, that he can, have children with, or just have that fulfilling life with. And there's so many aspects to life that just cause a lot of friction due to, the misdirection, misguidedness, right? But yeah, a lot of men, they think about it a lot more than what like the media might say. I think it's actually downplayed a little bit, even though there are case studies which show you the statistics, and the numbers are astronomical for male self-termination, but it's far more common. I guarantee you, like the men that you meet in your day-to-day life, at least two of them would have had the thought. At least two of them, even if they don't openly speak about it. But that's an entirely different issue. What else? Despite what is commonly shown and depicted through social media and whatever agenda that certain movements are pushing, all men want is just to have a peaceful coexistence with you, with women, right? Men just want to have a peaceful coexistence. We want to be able to get on with each other. Men want to connect, but because they are so heavily ostracized and scrutinized for every little thing that they do. Men get labeled creeps just because they aren't seen as attractive enough to some women. That really dents a man's confidence. It's not about attaching so much worth and value, but at the same time it is, because if you think about our core purposes as man and woman, it's to come together, it's to conjoin, it's to continue the race of the species, right? It's to continue our bloodline. But there's been such a heavy veil that's been pulled over this concept of traditional life values. It's causing a lot of confusion and chaos within men, because ultimately we are providers, we're hunter-gatherers. We're supposed to go out into this world, even though we're not hunting and killing saber-toothed tigers. We're supposed to go out there and find the resources to help provide for a life with a suitable partner. And whenever men are put down, ostracized, it really kills a part of that masculine drive, right? And that's why, a lot of women who think that, they make themselves available to men and then the men don't approach them. That's one of the reasons why, because he's been burned way too many times. He doesn't want to get, blasted on social media for being a creep. He doesn't want to get like a sexual harassment case filed against him. And all these little things add up to the point where he thinks, my life has actually become so meaningless, even to the point where I'm working my ass off at work. But what is this all for if I've got no one to share it with? You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go and just jump. And I've seen someone do that as well. So I can only imagine what went through his head earlier on in that day, or maybe in the coming up weeks to that, the weeks following up to that. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. But yeah, that's just a few things that men struggle with mentally. So Ron from the group asked, how can men build more discipline and focus around the right things to do in life, and steer away from the distractions of modernity? Okay. So, in my personal opinion, I think discipline and focus go hand in hand with each other. And they can only be built through, again, one, understanding yourself, right? And in order to understand yourself, honestly, you've got to really bring your thoughts, you've got to bring all your stimulus down to baseline. And the thing that worked best for me was using breath, right? Using my breath to control the thoughts, to control the electrical activity going on in my brain. Because otherwise I would just be jumping to so many different things, to a lot of irrelevant thoughts as well. Okay, so to break away from the distractions, I'm not going to say, okay, you need to go on like a 6-month monk mode protocol and go and live in the woods somewhere. It can be effective, but I think in this day and age, with the amount of kinetic movement that we are experiencing right now, we need to be present. You need to have an element of presence, and in order to be present, you need to be able to separate from the thoughts of the past, which make a more melancholic existence come to light, and vice versa. You need to break away from looking into the future and dwelling in anxiety. And the only way that we really can become present is when we actually harness the one thing we can control, which is the breath. So one exercise that I do when I start to feel anxious, because this happened to me earlier this morning, is I just take a deep breath into my chest, like so. I hold it for 3 to 5 seconds, and I slowly exhale and let the chest completely flatten, empty my lungs, and then I do it again, right? And I do that for 3 rounds. And if I'm still feeling anxious, then what I need to do is I need to bring that breath here into the stomach, because this is where, if you study energetic fields, if you understand the energetic layer to the body, right, to the spirit as well. Okay, we have our solar plexus chakra, which is right here, which is our seat of power. This is where our self-worth, this is where feelings of security, stability, or even instability manifest and come to the surface, right? So then you need to breathe into the stomach and then slowly release, okay? This is a breathing technique that I'm teaching in my course. So yeah, soft plug there. But yeah, I think that's it. You know, men need to build discipline and focus on the right things by simply focusing on being present first, right? We're in a stage where people are getting distracted too much, and that's what's causing the chaos, which is causing the anxiety, which is causing confusion. Because with distraction, you cannot put your energy into one thing. You cannot build, you cannot create, right? You're just constantly splintered and fragmented and scattered across a plethora of different stimuli, right? And an overstimulated brain is just as dangerous as a dormant brain. So I honestly believe through the power of breath work, you achieve presence. Once you've achieved presence, you get more clarity on where you want to intentionally put your focus on, because the answers will come to you. We all know what we need to do. We just don't do it because we choose to get distracted in the superficial layer of life, right? That's my belief system. Okay, and so he asks, how can men find the right environment to thrive in? Now, this is a very interesting one. A lot of people would say, oh yeah, you know, if you're from a small country, if you're like from a small town in the country, and if you want to, you know, become a business person, etc., then move to the city. And yeah, I can see the truth in that. I can see the point to that, because, for example, like I live, you know, on the outskirts of London. Whenever I go into the city, there's always just opportunity around, right? The studio that I go to when I shoot the podcasts, there's always people there. There are other content creators, music producers, you name it, right? I network with people that way. But in order for men to thrive, the advice, I feel, cannot be so prescriptive, right? Because without the right mindset, if you move from the country to the city, you're just going to be in an environment but equally as distracted. So in order to build that environment that you thrive in, I think honestly men need to build that within themselves, right? Men have to focus on becoming a part of the environment that they would thrive in, if that makes sense. And yeah, you know, again, without kind of like going off on like the spiritual side, although when you think about it, the spiritual side underpins everything, because that's what we are as human beings, right? We have a spirit, we have an essence to achieve, to push forward. And in order to tap into that, we need to harness that energy, right? So in order to build that environment to thrive, again, it comes down to establishing focus, you know, doing meditation, right? And it, you know, you don't necessarily have to be sitting in absolute silence. Your meditation could be something like when you are, say, in the gym, for example, you are completely present with your exercises, okay? So if you need to listen to music, but you're listening to something that's maybe a bit therapeutic in nature, right? I know quite a few people who listen to classical music. And it really does help, like, change the frequency of which they are operating on, right? Like the way in which the mind starts to sort of make those connections, and the actions then tied with the mental stimuli really do help you become a different person, right? Because now you're changing on the micro, which affects the macro. And sorry if that's a little bit vague. I just don't want to rant any more than I already have. But yeah, I think you find the right environment also by finding the right people. I think that if you know, once you're aware of what kind of change you want, and this kind of ties into, you know, yes, maybe traveling might be the best idea for you if you are in a very, you know, small community, and you want to, you know, start a business, or if you want to be somebody that is around people who share that, you know, that adventurous mindset, people who aren't afraid of taking risks, then you find the right people, you speak to them, you know, just connect with them, like on social media, because that's what I did. Connect with them, have conversations with them, understand, okay, these are my kind of people. Now you need to put yourself in those environments. For myself personally, you know, right now, as it is, I'm in a building phase. I have everything that I need right now. And a lot of the people that I communicate with are, you know, from this Cortex group, from the different communities that I'm a part of. And that right there is an environment that I personally find I thrive in, right? And so, yeah, that's one thing that I think can really work. How can modern men build on their survival instincts, become more situationally aware, and enter more of a protector role? So for me, the straight cut answer is I learned that all when I joined the military. When I joined the army, you know, I learned a lot more about masculinity. I was in a very hyper masculine environment after all, but I also learned the skills on fieldcraft, you know, how to use weapons, how to hunt, how to, you know, navigate, how to orient and navigate using, you know, a map and compass. So they all fed into the primal instinctive elements of masculinity for me. Now, I'm not saying you have to go and join the military. I think it's a really great way to bring those skills to the forefront and really harness them. And entering that protector role is just about understanding and harnessing controlled aggression, because that's effectively what it is, right? In order to be a protector, you need to be capable of defending something. That is literally the whole kind of sub-definition of what a protector is, right? You need to be able to defend something that you care about from possible threats. In this case, it could be, you know, your family, it could be your significant other, it could be, you know, your child, even your business, right? Because that needs to be nurtured. So I personally believe that for all men, if they learn some type of martial art or combat sport, because it also helps them build focus and discipline at the same time. It also teaches them how to defend themselves, right? It unlocks the ability where you are capable of violence, but you have the discipline to withhold it, unless you are genuinely under direct threat, right? It's like Jordan Peterson says, every man should be capable of violence. Every man should be a dangerous man, right? But by harnessing and controlling his temperament, by harnessing and controlling his ability to commit violence, he becomes all the more dangerous. He becomes all the more, disciplined as well, right? And so that's what I think, personally, modern men can do to build up on their survival skills, their survival instincts, and become more, you know, situationally aware, to become protectors, right? With a lot, you know, with this day and age, there are so many courses now that you can take to just like learn these skills. I know for a fact that there are like clubs as well, where, you know, you like boxing clubs, you know, kickboxing clubs. You can go do BJJ. There are even like expedition clubs where people, you know, they like when we were younger, they taught us the Duke of Edinburgh. You know, you'd learn how to like go and lead like walks across the countryside. You know, learn how to navigate the landscape. Right? These all help build up on the instinctive skills that we as men have had. Right? And yeah, I think from that sort of perspective, that's how you can build up on that. And lastly, how can men change their mentality around money and see it more of a tool for the future of your success instead of just for survival? Yeah, so this is a really good one. This is a big lesson that I actually only realistically made the shift like over the last like year and a half. The way that money is portrayed in today's day and age is that it is, you know, the enabler of living the good life, which it is. But the majority of people are just trying to get from, you know, paycheck to paycheck or make it through, you know, they're just trying to make it through the month, right? And so it really does beg the question, well, if you want to start using it as a tool for success rather than just a means to survive, you've got to learn financial literacy, right? And a good place to start, you know, you don't have to learn about investing or anything like that just yet, but just look at money coming in, money going out, look at what you're spending, look at what you can cut away with, and like really ego check yourself. Because there are a lot of people who say, oh yeah, well, you know, that Netflix subscription really helps me because after a hard day's work, I just need to unwind. I just need to, you know, I need to have something to just take my mind off it. Well, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because the reality of the situation is, if you really want to build and harness your energy into cultivating a skill set that's going to effectively help you earn more money, how are you going to learn that? By watching a movie on Netflix. Yeah, sure. It's cool to kick back and watch a movie. And honestly, if that's what you want to do, then just be honest with yourself. But for myself, what I started to do was I started to read a lot more. I started to look more into books that aligned with my mission. I started to look into cultivating the skill set to become, you know, an effective coach, so that when I do launch my business, I'm able to actually give the people that come into my circle what they want and more. Because I believe in over-delivering value to, you know, match the price tag that you put on the content that you are distributing and selling, right? That's my personal belief system. And so with that in mind, you know, I looked at, okay, what are these subscriptions that I don't need? And I got rid of them. What am I spending on that I can pull back on, right? And I did. I don't go out and eat as much. I genuinely don't. You know, the last time I actually went out and ate was with one of my friends, which was, yeah, it was Tuesday actually. But we had just done a podcast shoot, right? So that was business. But it's like a year ago, you know, I wouldn't have thought twice to order like takeout like three days a week, you know, even if it was like Nando's, right? As much as I love that place, it was just like, you know, like grilled chicken and stuff. But instead of going to the shop and just, you know, buying it and cooking it myself, I just wanted the shortcut. I wanted to shortcut everything. And that's the problem, right? People want to shortcut everything now, and it comes with a price, right? Otherwise you do it yourself. So pull back on your expenses, pull back on the subscriptions that you don't use. I mean, like, I also canceled one of the AI softwares that I use to edit podcasts because I don't really do it as much. All the stuff that I do now is in the studio, so I don't need it, right? And I cut it away, right? Really be aware of where your money's going, and that's the first step, I'd say, to learning how to use money as a tool for success rather than just a means to survive. So yeah, that concludes the questions for this podcast. So yeah, I hope that you found some value from this, and yeah, going forward there'll be more videos like this, just raw, unfiltered. I just want to speak more on self-development, you know, my experiences with the military, and just mental health, just shedding some light on these topics, which just, yeah, you can never get enough content on them, right? We need more people to just be more vocal about these things. So, yep, that's it, guys. See you guys later.